So welcome, thanks for joining us today. We're really thrilled to be able to have three of our current Sias University teachers to share a little bit about their experience teaching both online and in person for Sias University. Before we get into hearing from them, I just wanted to give a quick overview of what it's like to teach abroad, what the requirements are, and just kind of a quick commercial advertising for another webinar that I've done. So my name is Aaron Vorbow, and I've been working for Sias University for 13 years. I taught for 2 years. I taught both conversational English and as well I taught marketing. And for the last 10 years, I've been helping them with teacher recruitment and representing Sias mostly in North America. This 45-page teaching PDF is something that our staff and our marketing interns put together last year. And we will email this to everyone who's registered for this webinar. So it's a really good resource if you prefer to like skim through a document. It's a lot of information. This is our community of teachers. We have, pre-COVID, about 140 faculty with children and spouses. In the webinar that we have shared in the past, we cover the problems that are often faced when you teach abroad, and then the solutions that our American influenced university provides solutions for. Probably the best selling point of our university is we have an international expat administrative staff that does teacher training, helps with visas, and does orientation. So that's a great comfort for those that are coming from abroad, and just being able to speak to someone from your culture is really helpful. Our community is diverse, so recent college graduates all the way to those in their 60s. Some have children and some are singles or marrieds without children. So a really diverse community that you'd be joining. Basic requirements are on the website, so we're not going to go into detail, but in the webinar, we do a Q&A answering questions about requirements and benefits. And this year, we're anticipating up to 50 new teachers being hired. We can go into more detail about COVID and how that's impacted recruitment through email, and I have a couple of documents being prepared to share with that as well. So we're going to have up first Laura. I forgot who was going to go first. Laura. She's going to share a story and some tips for teaching online. So welcome, Laura, if you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Laura Gage. This is my first year teaching with Sias, so I've only taught online. I'm originally from New Zealand, but I'm currently living in California. Still hopeful that we'll, get to China. It'd be really great. So this photo actually is towards the beginning of the first semester. I was trying to come up with creative ways to engage my students and help them to relax so that we could have more kind of conversation. I teach oral conversational English. And so I found some online recipes for some Chinese cooking, and I made braised pork belly on a live call with I think I ended up having about 70 of my students come in and out of this call. And I just cooked and we chatted and answered some questions, and they seemed very impressed that I was trying, Chinese recipe, and it was a lot of fun. Here I'm showing them, I found mooncakes that they eat for the Lunar Festival at one of the local Asian markets. And so I tried it, and we kind of talked about some of the different flavors and what their festivals look like. So it was a lot of fun. And if you go on to, so something that I did, because most of the way that we teach is asynchronous. So the students will watch the videos, the lectures, and then do the homework, and I will give them feedback by either video or oral feedback on their pronunciation and things like this. But I tried to do a weekly teacher hangout, just technically office hours, but teacher hangout sounds a lot more fun. And it was really fun. They would join, I would find things to talk about. Some of them were very shy and wouldn't talk at all, but a few brave students would kind of have questions or ask about life in America. And we would practice just conversation and trying to build rapport and just comfortability with the students. This is a really fun way to do it. So I'm hoping to do this again next semester. And I think this is one of the first ones that I did at the beginning of the semester. So there was a lot of students. We ended up talking for about an hour and a half. This is not the case every week. Some weeks there was only 3 students, but it was very fun, and it was great to just have that opportunity to interact with the students in that way and have that live conversation, and let them get to know me a little bit better. So this was actually me with 2 of the other teachers at Sias who are both teaching online as well. And one of the things that I was more worried about teaching online was not having the support and, peer mentorship with the other teachers in the teaching team. But I was actually out, 2 of the other teachers lived in the same city as me within like 20 minutes. And so we met up quite a few times during the semester to grade together, work on different things. And we found that there was a Chinese hot pot place in LA. And so we had a day trip. We drove out there together and we all got hot pot and shared lots of photos with our students. And it was a really fun time. And even with the other teachers that weren't in my area, CS is very intentional in having lots of meetings with the other teachers and peer support. So I never felt like I was alone in my online teaching. So yeah, it's just a little bit of encouragement. If you are interested in teaching online, or if that does happen, there's still a lot of support, a lot of interaction. I chat with a lot of my students over WeChat. It's winter break at the moment, but they'll send me photos of what they're doing and ask questions, and it's a lot of fun. I think that's about all for me.
Well, wait, could you share a little bit about maybe one story or an example of how you've been able to build relationship with students outside of the classroom?
Yeah, so one of my students, her name is Eleanor, actually partially because I did that, the live cooking thing with my students, she just thought it was really cool that I knew how to cook because she didn't. And she messaged me and was like, teacher, like I really have been wanting to learn how to cook. You're such a good cook. Can we share recipes and like practice cooking together over winter break? And so during winter break, we've been kind of messaging back and forth, and she'll send me photos of her favorite desserts and what they ate for Chinese New Year. And I've been like sharing what we had for like Christmas dinner, and like I made dumplings and things like this. So it's been like a really cool way to be able to share with her. And we end up talking a lot about culture and cultural differences, especially in food. But it's been a really great bridge to be able to have those conversations and build that friendship with her outside of class.
Great, thank you. Well, if you have any questions and you're listening to Laura share, please add them to the chat and we'll have some Q&A at the end. Next up, we have Karen Edwards. She's going to share about her experience teaching online and in person. She's of the 3 here, she's the only that got to do both. And a little plug for you, Karen. Next month, we will also share with her, maybe it might be actually in April, we'll have her share a little bit about what is the process of quarantine when traveling into China.
Yeah, great. Well, welcome everyone. I am so glad to be a part of this webinar for you. I love teaching. I am an elementary teacher by trade. and through some twists and turns, ended up teaching in China on some short-term trips. I'm from Indianapolis, and there was a company there that allowed students to go teachers to go in the summer and teach 2 weeks at a time. And that is what really got me going. And then my husband and I both kind of felt the leading that this is what we were supposed to do. So we sold everything that we have, literally, gave up our secular positions and took teaching positions with Sias. Our first semester, plus a little bit more, was online. At that time, there was still quite a bit of difficulty getting the visa approved. But once that went through, we were able to go to campus and have thoroughly enjoyed our time on campus. This picture here is some girls that I had over, students, and you get an idea of the apartment that Sias provides for you. As married, we have a 3-room apartment. There's a living room, kind of an extra room that we use with a kitchen table, kind of a galley kitchen, bathroom, and then a fairly good sized bedroom, lots of storage. So here I have some students that came over for dinner and just some time for fun and talking. Definitely being with students is my favorite part of the job. I love spending time with them in class and outside of class. I have office hours 2 times a week for about 2 hours, and I have anywhere from 6 to 12 students that will come and join me around a table. We play cards, we talk. They try to get me to speak Chinese. Of course, I'm always trying to get them to speak English and to practice those English skills. And we're having a really nice professional relationship that is developing with these students. I have taught online as well, and it looks like I will start this semester online. I'm actually back in the States. I came home over winter break and was to fly home or back to China on Monday, and that flight has been canceled. So it's not an issue of my paperwork or anything like that. It's an airline issue. And so we are going to be in the States a little longer than we anticipated. And in prepping my mind to go back from in class to online teaching, I did make a few notes of things that I think are helpful when you're considering online teaching. One thing, whether you are online or in person, is to make sure you are speaking slowly, much slower than you think you would need to speak. Students need that time to do the switch from what am I saying in English? Okay, what does that mean in Chinese? And then come back to understanding it in English. And if I speak at my normal American pace, which is probably something like this, it is way too fast. Students need a very paced cadence when listening, so they have time to think about how that transition between the two languages is taking place and be able to understand that decoding process, if you will, between the two languages. I would really encourage you to, if you have materials that you want them to look at or be familiar with, send that out ahead of time. Key slides that I will be using in my PowerPoint, particularly things I would want them to put in their oral English notebook. I will send those out the night before so that they have a chance to review and be thinking about what our topic is this week. I teach freshman oral English majors. So they are majoring in English, and in addition to my class, They are taking a reading class, a listening class, a comprehensive class. All of those are taught by Chinese teachers. Only my class, I'm the only foreign teacher that they have, and we're working on oral English. So I try to help them be as prepared as possible before they come into class. I do encourage them to have an oral English notebook. And when I am on campus, I do periodic checks. Are they writing down our weekly idiom? Are they writing down our weekly pronunciation? Are they keeping track of our weekly functions? That's what a lesson is made up of, basically. A function is what is the skill we are teaching. Are we teaching how to make a phone call, how to order from a menu, how to apologize, how to make an appointment? Those are some of the topics that we cover in a function. As a major, they are also given an idiom that is very difficult for them to understand sometimes because it has an inferred meaning, not a meaning based on the words that they are given. And then there's always a pronunciation section where they might be learning the A sound or the silent TH sound, something of that nature. And so we'll have some practice with that. So again, sending out key slides ahead of time is very helpful. And then online, you must be a little creative with this, but I want them to feel like they're in a classroom. So I try to include as many ways as I can to have them respond to me. My favorite platform so far is Ding Talk. It is something that's available in China, and I'm hoping it's available in the States. I was able to access it today preparing for this webinar, but it allows me to have a camera. They can see me, I can see them. We can follow along in a PowerPoint. It doesn't show on the slide you're looking at, but there is a place where I can ask them multiple choice questions, and then they can choose A, B, C, or D so that I'm getting an idea that they are following along. I can write on that screen so that, again, it's just like I would be in the class making notes and presenting my material to them. So that is another thing, is that speak slowly. Send out those materials ahead of time, key slides, articles, whatever you're going to be working on that you know is going to need, they might need some prep time with, to send that out ahead of time, and then plan activities as much as possible that require them or encourage them at least to participate within the class. Whether you're calling on students, I keep a roster handy, and even if I can't really see that person, I will call out their name. I want them to feel validated as a student and to know that I'm here and I know they're there, and somehow we're going to cross this bridge even though we're online. So the last thing would be to, whatever your environment is, I happen to be in a public library right now, eliminate those distractions in your home. So try to make it as calm in the background as possible so the students are focusing on your lesson. But again, the students cannot be beat. They are the best. They're kind, they're engaging, and they are very responsive to their foreign teachers and learning more about our culture. So if you have any questions, again, it's Karen Edwards, and my WeChat is Oral English Teach, all lowercase letters, and I'd be happy to talk with you or answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Karen. Next up, we have Jake, and he can share his stories of teaching with kids, but also introduce himself. What are his few roles at the university?
So my name is Jake, and I'm originally from the Midwest, and I signed on to teach with Sias in February of 2020 with the expectation that we would get to move to China in a few months. And obviously COVID happened. And so my wife and I both teach, and we've been teaching online. So Karen, you just gave the advice to limit the distractions during class, which is great advice. But I'm going to say something completely contrary a little bit. I get the privilege of hanging out with my two little kids all day, every day. And so, the biggest challenge has been, kind of how do I structure class around, making sure my kids get taken care of. And so this is oftentimes what my lectures have ended up looking like with the kid in my class. And although it can be frustrating at times to have to deal with noises in the background, I've actually found that that's really has been a great way to connect with my students. From other teachers who have been on campus, I know that students are really love their foreign teachers and are really interested in learning about your life, learning about what it's like living in the United States, or just what it's like from a different, what it's like growing up in a different culture. And so one of the best ways that I've been able to connect with my students is instead of trying to limit the distractions from my kids, is to encourage that. Now obviously there's a place, where, we've got to get some serious, coursework done at times. And obviously we do that, but I've also learned to incorporate my kids in because it gives me a personal connection with my students and kind of lets them into my life. And they've asked questions about my kids. One week I actually had a lecture that I was able to record without any kids in the background. And I had students messaging me saying, "Where were your kids at this week? I missed hearing them chatter in the background." And so, again, like Laura and Karen have said, it's really just about finding whatever ways you can to make those personal connections, which for me happens to be, letting my kids interrupt me from time to time. And, just, kind of sharing some of my personal life, not letting it all just be professional and straightforward, but, kind of letting students kind of see behind the curtain a little bit and see kind of some of my, personal life. And so that's been a great way that I've learned to connect with students. So, and I'm going to keep it short, so I'm going to just stick with that for now.
Thank you, Jake. I know the students really have a really deep, curious desire to understand American culture, international culture. They grew up in just one culture. They have very little travel experience out of their hometown, let alone their province. So when they come to our university and they meet teachers from 7 or 8 different countries, and then families with more than one child, is just fascinating. And in addition to like all of our stories from our travels. So the ones that are confident just come into our homes or into our 1 or 2 hour office hours, and they have a lot of questions once you get them talking. So I think it's great that you're able to show them a little bit about your family and parenting as you teach even. All right, well.
They also love
Jake,
pets as well as kids. I would have my puppy be a part of my like recorded lectures sometimes. So that was always a big hit.
looking at the questions, do you see, Jake or Karen or Laura, are there any questions that jump out to you?
There was a lot of questions about teaching online only. I know that you've answered that in the chat, but do you just want to kind of reiterate what
Yeah,
that?
yeah, just so I didn't explain it well in the email invitation, I apologize. What I should have written is Sias University is hiring teachers who are willing and available to move to China. If travel restrictions keep us from bringing teachers over, then we ask those teachers to teach online. Some of those teachers say, oh no, sorry, I need more money to stay in my current city. I'll have to pass. And others say, yeah, I'll teach online, which ends up being, after 7 or 8 p.m. if you're on the Pacific Standard Time, or or a little earlier if on the East Coast. So it could affect your family life or your evenings if you teach 4 or 5 nights a week. So it's a big commitment. It's a big challenge to teach online when you're expected to teach live. But maybe one of you can share, how many of you have taught where it's not live, but instead you're receiving video, you're creating a video presentation, you send it out, and then they respond with a video, and then you grade that. So either one of you want to share.
That's how I structure my classes. Now, I teach different courses than Laura and Karen. I'm teaching in the School of Business, so I'm teaching older students and teaching business courses in English. And so typically I will pre-record a lecture video that covers the course content, and then use discussion forums, quizzes, group projects, that sort of thing to engage with my students and go over the content that way, rather than kind of talking back and forth with them during their normal class period. I know that's a little bit different for oral English, so I don't know if you guys have any.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that a little bit. Yeah, for the majority, there's kind of an option to either do a short kind of 10-minute live at the beginning of the class time, or to just pre-record like your welcome and intro video going over the class concepts, and then there are recorded lectures that they will watch. They will do the homework, which is usually either creating a video or a audio message replying to the class discussion topic. And then within 24 hours, I will reply with an audio message to all of theirs, giving feedback on pronunciation, asking and answering questions, and just trying to let them hear some kind of conversation. So that's kind of usually how it goes for at least the freshman oral English. Yeah, I did see a couple of other questions that someone mentioned, like, is it encouraged to use WeChat? And the answer is yes, it is. We will usually have WeChat groups for each of our different classes with all of the students in it, that we will send announcements, so students can ask questions through WeChat. And we'll often have students will message me directly if they have an issue, or if they just want to practice or chat. And you can also use like voice message kind of things on WeChat as well, which are very helpful. Example of pre-recorded. Oh, okay. So usually I would create a PowerPoint with a lot of the different teaching points, and there's a lot of different kind of things you can use, but I often will actually record mine on Zoom so they can see my face, and I'll go through each of the PowerPoints. And it'll be about a 10-minute video usually, and then there are actually the university has a curriculum for the freshman oral English, and so they already have recorded videos for the major kind of parts of the lessons. So they'll watch my video where I'll go over different points and things like that, and then they'll watch the curriculum video about how that looks, about whatever the different topic is for that day. And then they will continue on to do the homework. It's usually about 40 minutes of videos, and then they will use the rest of their class time to complete the homework.
Other questions in the Q&A, one's about employability. So if you go to academics-in-asia.com/do-I-qualify, it covers employability. These are not Sias University requirements, it's the provincial requirements. So based on what province you're from or what level education you're teaching. So at the university for Henan province, we have it all listed. What are the requirements for teaching both academic courses where you teach content in English and preschool, elementary school, as well as conversational English. Second, we have a question about travel restrictions for our university faculty. Is it visa or COVID related? And my answer in the Q&A was both. So invitation letters are given out from the government of our province, and there has been limited invitation letters this last year and a half due to COVID. So we're hoping that with the lessening of local travel and more freedom that we are seeing in our province to travel, that will increase the number of invitation letters we can send out. So we have maybe 70 teachers wanting to come back to campus, and we only get maybe a dozen or so invitation letters to bring them back. So it's based on seniority, who gets those invitation letters.
And Aaron, there was one last question about being vaccinated before traveling to China. Is there any definite policy, like what's the policy from the university on vaccinations?
Yeah, the document that I was given from the university is you have to be COVID free. So you have to be 3 days before you depart. So 72 hours before you leave your city for the international flight, you have to have no COVID in your system. And then during your quarantine, we'll cover this in a later episode, another webinar, almost daily you'll have COVID tests. And then after 3 weeks of that, then you can go to your campus apartment.
Aaron, I need to update that slightly because I'm experiencing it right now. The United States, or not the United States, the consulate requires that you are tested 7 days prior to your flight, and then again 2 times 24 to 48 hours before your flight. And you always must be tested from the port that you're leaving from. So I'm leaving from Detroit, so I have to be tested in Michigan, even though I live in Indiana.
7 days before?
7 days before, and the 2 times 48 hours before your flight.
Yeah.
So there's 3 COVID tests necessary.
Okay. Well,
There was another question earlier, Aaron, about whether you are able to teach English if you did not major in that in college, like if your BA is unrelated to English teaching.
Yeah, I believe most of our teachers do not have an education or English degree. The advantage of having an education, English or TEFL degree in college is you do not need any other certification. Those that don't have English education or TEFL minor or major have to do another certificate, a TEFL certificate that's at least 120 hours. And that gives you the qualification to then from the government be issued the expert title for teaching and getting a work visa. And then for non-native English speakers, they would need to have their degree from a university that is in a native English speaking country. So, and I think they're up to about 9 different countries that the government is considering native English speaking. So the newest one that I heard of is Jamaica. So that's kind of nice for our Jamaican teachers. I really appreciate everyone who's shown an interest. My email is aaron@academicsinAsia.com. Feel free to contact me. And you'll also see Laura, Karen, and Jake on our Instagram. Go to our Academics in Asia Instagram. Feel free to direct message them there. And we really appreciate everyone that joined on. And I especially appreciate Laura and Karen as they're traveling, and Jake for helping coordinate. We hope to do this monthly with our teachers so that it's not just me and my experiences, but everyone and their experiences, sharing stories and examples and answering questions. All right, we'll hope to see you guys next month. Email me if you want to be on our list of webinars, and we'll keep in touch. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming, everyone.